Welcome to another Meta Break video. Today we are focused on the named Famas burnout, which gives you an additional 40% weapon handling for 10 seconds when you reload from empty. And that's absolutely insane on a weapon that is already strong and that has the best burst damage in the game. And so in this video series that I started not too long ago, I decided to show you guys some other really good weapons because we like to hang on to certain weapons in this game, those quote unquote meta weapons. And right now, the weapon that's really standing out for the community is the St. ELMO'S assault rifle, which is really good. But the downside is that the game can get a little bit drab when you use the same weapon all the time. And there's really good guns in this game, and that's the point of this video, is to highlighting some of those that you might be sleeping on. But different tools for different scenarios, or just to switch it up for the sake of build diversity without losing any of the benefits that you would hope for out of some of the best weapons in the game. Yeah, so the Famas is actually really good, this burnout. And so where, yeah, you could put otherwise a damage talent, but if you got a good build, you probably, oops, we had a delay there. You probably have enough damage on your setup where you're really not missing any damage off of your talent. Steady hands, that's a good one too. Or even fast hands and get a faster reload. All good, really good options. And that's because Striker brings so much to the table. You have enough damage. You have enough damage that dropping your talent isn't gonna make or break your build. What I'm trying to say is, like, if I put a damage talent on like Obliterate or something like that, I mean, my time to kill is so fast on this build that I wouldn't even really notice additional damage on it. The weapon is very fast, so it really could use the weapon handling, because, you know, even missing for, you know, a fraction of a second means a lot of rounds gone because the RPMs are so high. You got to be careful how much headshots you go for, because that can lead to extra reloads too. Going for a smaller target at 1,000 RPMs. That's 1,000 RPM and misses too, right? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But you got the extra handling to help with that. And that's exactly what this weapon needs.
Hey Bandidos, the community we have built together wouldn't have been possible without you. So as a thank you for supporting my channel, I am bringing you the hookup on member perks, including even more Division 2 content and the celebrated gaming music playlists. If you're not part of Tux's Players Club, now is your chance.
With this Striker setup, and I'll walk you through the build in a minute, but it's got you take a lot of what I call micro damage. It's a conversation that I like to have, because I'm not running an all red build. I'm running 1.1 million armor, and that's mostly because that's where people's, most players' comfort zone is. Really what it helps out at is your reaction time, because it gives you a little buffer from when you're taking damage to be able to react before you break. But the reality is, you know, armor doesn't do crap for you in this game unless you have some sort of factor that the armor is contributing to, such as like armor on kill or bonus armor or armor regen. But without that, armor is just literally not worth a ton. About, give or take, one enemy bullet will break an armor core. A single armor core is the same value, give or take. You know, all you're literally doing is buying yourself one bullet, which is fine. And I think a lot of people look for that, but you just have to be conscious if that's what you're doing. But a lot of people are looking for just one extra bullet worth of damage so that they can react. And so that's why it's good to run 1.1 million armor, so that you can react. So yeah, let's go back to that micro damage subject. You take a lot of it if you notice. And like right there, that was more than micro damage, right? But like it can slow you down, especially if you're an aggressive playstyle. It's important not to pretend that you're never gonna take damage in this game, because it's actually the opposite. You're constantly taking damage. And so you have to have the rate of recovery to complement your play style, your aggressiveness, and your time to kill. So if you're killing all the time, that allows you to move on to the next enemy. You want to make sure you have the armor to have the confidence to do that. And if you're taking micro damage all the time without any source of recovery, then you might not be able to do that as fast as you want to. You might have to hold back, be timid. Right now I'm running the Striker backpack, but the downside about the Striker backpack is that it's non-essential damage. And people don't ever talk about that too much, but it's an important subject because the reality is that Striker is so strong all on its own, just 4 pieces Striker without the backpack, that you don't really notice the additional damage that the backpack is bringing you, except on paper. So on paper, you notice it in the testing range, but we're not paper warriors. In the game, that's what matters. And in the game, I can't tell the difference. And that's because the time to kill, which is really what's important here, which leads to time to clear and survivability, is the difference is so small that it's undetectable by the human eye. It basically doesn't exist. This is what the build looks like. And so I'm running it with the backpack, where if I was running something like Bloodsucker or the Memento, we'd have shielding to that, what I call micro damage. What is micro damage? So if you can visualize the survivability pie, visualize it as a pie with many slices. The biggest slice of the survivability pie is your situational awareness. That's really important to minimizing the amount of incoming damage you take, right? Knowing where the enemies are in relation to you, in relation to where you're looking, who's behind you, and where the next spawns are going to be is greatly going to contribute. Where do you kick off the fight to minimize damage from range, right? And so I start to fight up close so that I don't take a lot of damage on approach. Then I guard the spawn doors and try to get them before they spread out and set up, which is important too. So all those things are your situational awareness. Also target priorities. The next biggest slice of the pie is your time to kill. So time to kill, which is damage, is really important. It's very, very important. So I'm not marginalizing that. I'm saying that's really important. And that Striker alone, 4 pieces of Striker without the chest, without the backpack, is absolutely enough. It's really good. Even with 1.1 million armor, 1.3, 1.5, actually you can push your armor up and you're good to go. The backpack, you know, I get that comment a lot, like, oh, it's not worth not running the backpack because you miss out on too much damage, where that's not the case at all. I mean, I can get rid of the Striker backpack and not even notice I lost it. In fact, my gameplay and my time to clear will actually improve, because what the build needs, what it's missing, are those additional slices of survivability. So we already have the optimal time to kill without the backpack. And so that's what people do. They go into the testing range and they say, hey, I want the strongest build possible, and they put it together, but they don't realize, well, is that what you needed? Because you're taking micro damage. What are you doing to stop that? And so 10% armor on kill is really, can be enough. I mean, I actually run a lot of my builds with 0 armor on kill. That's because I have the bonus armor to go with it. And so we'll watch closely here, as I will take damage, but I do get my kill. The problem isn't that not getting the kill. The problem is that I took maybe 1 or 2 bullets on the way, like right there, right? So look at my armor. That was 1 shot, a couple shots. And so it's gonna take me a few kills to get through that. So yeah, micro damage is that little damage in between kills or from your target, you know, that might put out a couple of shots on you before you officially take them out. And after a while, after a couple of enemies, it doesn't take very many, but it adds up. It adds up. If you're a relaxed player, it won't add up as much. And in that case, the backpack is probably the best thing you could put on your build. But if you're an aggressive player, you're gonna want something to protect your backside or to heal you, like Clutch is also a great option. But yeah, so I'm running the backpack just because I normally run the Striker. I mean the Memento, so I'm running the Striker backpack just to do something a little bit different here, but also because, you know, we're focusing more on the weapon. It's a really good weapon. You just have to remember to not reload early. 40% weapon handling is not a little thing. And this is one of those weapons that absolutely uses it. And the base of the weapon is so good that not having a damage talent there is great. What you need are shots on target so you can burn them, as you can see me doing here. If you notice, in the first couple of bullets, it staggers the enemy. And not all assault rifles do that. And that's a really big detail. It adds a ton to your survivability, because when they stagger, see, like right there, they don't shoot back at you. And in this case, he ran away. And so it's based off of how much damage you're putting on that enemy as a percentage of their health and time. And that's how weapons stagger. If you kind of look at it from a damage perspective, if you're a damage player, meaning like that's what excites you the most about your builds, then the shock is something that you're probably minimizing or marginalizing on the St. Elmo's, because you're like, yeah, it's nice, but I got 70 rounds of shock ammo and they're all going into one enemy. It's not that helpful. And I agree. It's really the large mag and the crit mods and the handling that we like about that weapon, isn't it? The game changer is that 70 round mag with that thing. But when you put a bunch of weapon handling or something like fast hands, then it's sort of the same thing. There's a little gap in firing, but it's lickety split. And we got a 40% weapon handling means 40% reload speed increase. And we're also running Striker, which is another 15%. So that's right there, 55% reload speed increase. That makes this thing fast. Now, it's not going to show up on the stats because that's a talent. Let's take a closer look at the weapon. So I just ran it with the scope, but before that, I was running it with just a crit chance mod. So, you know, you have crit chance here, crit chance there, and I'm running it with the 20% stability. I like this even with perfectly on empty, because this weapon has some serious burst to it and rise, and that means the first part of your mag can be just lost, the extended mag. And then you got lots of skin options here if you've been able to earn those through rewards tracks over time. So this is the one I'm running on it, but who doesn't like a waffle from time to time? So perfectly on empty, reloading from empty grants 40% weapon handling for 10 seconds. And so you just got to remember to burn your mag, which is pretty easy to do with this weapon because it's so fast. You got 1,035 RPMs. Normally it's 900. Kind of on the lower side of base damage, and that's because it's so fast. The faster weapons tend to have a lower base damage. You know, I just kind of put together a really good build for this weapon, but there's so many different ways you can run it. So let me just walk you through the way that I have it. So I'm running the Striker backpack with 15% weapon handling. We get the rate of fire at 15%, and then Striker's Gamble, which is giving us 100 stacks of really juicy amp damage. We got weapon damage and crits, and then the risk management, which is bumping us up from 0.65 to 1% per stack. So really good for the damage on buildup, I would say. The gloves, more weapon damage and crit chance. The knees, I got armor here and crit damage, putting this at total 1.1 million in armor with the holster. That's got crit damage on it also. So I'm running Gunner because you're gonna need some sort of survivability. So that 10% armor on kill if you play fast and try to minimize your damage, which is gonna probably require the shield to minimize that incoming damage and make sure nobody's shooting you in the back too much. Then that 10% armor on kill can really be enough. And then I have the fixer drone to just kind of fill in the gaps there. I'm running the Cheska chest piece just to get my crits up, and then I'm running Obliterate here, which also requires crits to give us 25% total weapon damage, and of course I got crits throughout. And then I decided to run the Coyote just to take advantage of that short range bump of 25% crit hit damage. For a backup weapon, I have the Rock and Roll, and so you can use this. I didn't use it at all, but you can use this to bring up your stacks really quickly. So again, Gunner for that 10% armor on kill also helps you with the ammo situation. So we're at 60% crit chance exactly, 117% crit damage, 75% headshot damage. So I wanted to show you another look here at this weapon and build. And right now we're gonna be focusing on those additional slices of the survivability pie I was talking about a little bit earlier. So one of the things I was discussing was essential damage versus non-essential damage on a build, right? What a build actually needs to better perform or to help you better perform. And so we were running the Striker backpack before, so everything's the same for the most part. I'll show you the build in a moment and walk you through it. But now I'm running the Memento, so I got rid of the Striker backpack. And the point is, when it comes to time to kill, which is what we're really after in this game, it's not damage, it's an extremely fast time to kill. It's sort of the same, I know, it is. But let's call it what it is. And as I mentioned earlier, the striker set gives you all the damage that you need to the point where it almost nerfs its own backpack, because that damage becomes really non-essential. Now it's still a great backpack and I really like it. And it does have its use cases, especially if you're going to be playing from cover a lot more, or you're a more tactical or relaxed player. So definitely all good use cases for that backpack. But what I want to point out here is that, you know, people say, oh, you know, it's not worth not running the backpack because you have too much you're missing out on too much damage. And not at all. As a matter of fact, I don't feel like I'm missing out on any damage. And whatever difference it is, lower or higher, is so minuscule that it's not really undetectable by the human eye, and therefore does not exist. Where now I have a lot more confidence to play stronger because of that bonus armor. Now here's the part that's gonna really blow your mind. I'm not running any armor on kill. So I still have 1.1 million armor as the first build did, but I have no armor on kill now, and I can play more aggressively because I have more shielding. I mean, absolutely fabulous. I mean, that was a mob right there we just took down. High chances of going down there. That was a risky little scenario we were in. So it's all preference. One isn't necessarily better than the other. They're just different. That's what I'm highlighting. Don't limit yourself by some sort of imaginary rule that not running the striker backpack is too much of a loss or isn't worth it, because it's not. You got to have some more logic to that, because we're not paper warriors. We don't play on a spreadsheet. We don't play in the testing range. We play in the game. And what you need in game is additional levels of survivability, not more damage that isn't helping you. The additional damage that backpack was bringing in wasn't helpful because we already had enough damage. And that's what I mean. It's like striker almost nerfs itself because, and it doesn't, but I'm just saying that, like, it's just an expression. It brings so much damage to the table that whatever the backpack is contributing or trying to contribute is just really unnecessary. And mostly, like, if it was like the chest piece, or if it was, you know, a holster or something like that, absolutely, you know, totally would run it. But the reality is that it's in a slot, a very important slot is competing for what the build really needs. So if striker is bringing in all the damage that you possibly need, then you need either more utility or more slices of those additional survivability pieces, which would be like bonus armor and regen, which we have both of here. For me, I felt stronger. Why? How is that possible? There's a chunk of the community that says it's not worth losing striker backpack because of the additional damage it brings. Before we were running 1.1 million armor, right? We had our other armor core here. But now, instead of the striker backpack, I had a red core with crits and of course risk management. Now I bring in an additional armor core, maintain the red core, and a skill tier, all of which are adding to my survivability. And then of course we got the crit mod. And so really we're playing into the short-term and long-term buffs here. So if you can play into the short-term buffs of the Memento, there's nothing better. There's just nothing better than the short-term buffs. And so that's when people say that risk management, the talent on the backpack, is sort of best in slot on the striker build, they're forgetting about kill confirm's short-term buff, or they're not really bringing that into the equation. So look here, we have 30% additive weapon damage when we have full stacks. Easy peasy, right? And the best part is the enemy can't take that away. They can't take away risk management either. But 5% additional weapon damage per red core on short-term buff for 10 seconds. How many red cores do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 25% additional additive damage, stackable. In that scenario where I killed 3 enemies that were standing in my face back to back to back, I brought in 25 times 3, so that's 75% weapon damage on top of the 30% additive. That was 105% additional damage we had sitting on our build. 10 seconds is plenty of time. How do I know? We're also getting 10% bonus armor for 10 seconds. I have 2 blue cores, so that's 20% bonus armor. No armor on kill, no gunner. So that bonus armor was sufficient, along with the armor regen at 3%. There's so much more value coming out of the Memento than that Striker's backpack, and including amazing damage that I couldn't even tell, even without trophies. Even without Memento trophies, my time to kill was so fast, I couldn't tell the difference whether I was running the Striker backpack or not. And you shouldn't be able to too. If you do think you can tell the difference, it's probably some sort of placebo effect, I gotta say. And that's because of how great Striker is. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying it's all Memento, I'm saying it's Striker. Striker is so strong that the damage that it brings is sufficient. You don't need to overload your build with additional damage. Now there are times where you might do that, where you're gonna be playing from cover, you're gonna be relaxed, you're gonna be in the squad. You might as well just run your Striker backpack. You're gonna be playing a little bit more from range, and it might be more difficult for you to get out there and get your trophies, but whatever. It just becomes an alternate option. It's a great backpack, that Striker's backpack, but it's not absolutely best in slot. Now let's go ahead and add that scope in here back on like we did earlier, because I like playing with the scope personally. What is my point here is not that the Striker backpack is bad, because it's not. It's absolutely amazing. It's a great backpack, one of the best for gear sets. But what I'm saying is that by looking at what your build actually needs, which isn't more damage on this setup, it allowed me to look at other options like the, where's that coming from? Oh no. This is gonna hurt. See, that's amazing time to kill it. We just got ourselves out of some serious trouble. Look at our heals came back too, right? No armor on kill. So taking off the Striker backpack, looking at what the build actually needed was additional slices of survivability, because I had so much damage to be able to do that. I had the luxury to look and decide that I didn't need more damage, right? It allowed me to bring in the Memento. And by doing that, I was able to put back on a red core. So we got 5 red cores. Instead of earlier, we were running only 4 red cores. So we picked up an extra red core. We were able to maintain our 1.1 and earn ourselves bonus armor. And because I'm killing so often and earning that bonus armor so often, I can get rid of Gunner and run Firewall and get a better shield, an offensive shield. And think also about the fact that we're running a weapon that doesn't even have a weapon damage talent on it. You know what I mean? So here's this build. So as you can see, not much has changed. So I'm running the Firewall specialization, and that's so I can get access to this shield, which is pretty cool. And as you can see, it's a tier 3 shield. Thanks to the Memento, we're getting the damage. Yeah, so 12% damage bonus per enemy standing in front of it. So that's really nice. And then of course I'm running the Memento, as I mentioned earlier. We got crit chance, and then of course we got the armor regen and the bonus armor, which is all the defense I really need. So that allowed me to get rid of Gunner, or you can run Gunner too if you want. And then I got the 5% weapon damage. That's going to give us 30% weapon damage on full stacks, and then 25% weapon damage that's stackable. And that's because we're getting 5% per red core. So really cool there. And then we got the skill efficiency helping our skills out too. So otherwise I'm running the mask. That was the other change. So I took off the Coyote's mask and I put this on, and then the scope is optional. I ran it both ways in this gameplay highlight here. So otherwise good chance. And then I'm still running the stability mod. I still like that. Same chest piece, everything's the same. Otherwise, if we look at the stats, 60% crit chance, 93% crit damage, and then our armor regen now is at about 33, almost 34,000 armor back per second. And when you're constantly killing, really I look at bonus armor as armor on kill too. It lasts for 10 seconds, but so does your white armor, because you're always taking damage. That's 20% armor on kill right there, because I got 2 blue cores. And as long as you're chain killing or killing consistently, then you're gonna be stacking those. So I hope you really enjoyed this series. I hope this inspires you from taking a break from your meta, which might be that St. ELMO'S. Why do people still play the Division 2? Watch this video to find out.
Follow me. You're still here? It's over. Go home. go.